interviewing. You know, that's what they doing. Stick around. It's about to get all Ruby up in here. Remote Ruby starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Remote Ruby. I'm Andrew Mason, and I'm joined with the keyboard clacking, bug squashing, hotwire hustling, Ruby. Oh my God, I almost nailed it, dude.
Ruby on Wales.
Ruby on Wales, wielding wizard herself. Chris Oliver.
You might have to make that a permanent intro.
I'm going to keep cooking on these until I find the best one.
You might have just done the best one.
But I can't say Ruby on Rails wielding wizard without stumbling.
I like the Ruby on Wales.
Ruby on Wales, wizard herself. That reminds me of a character. I can't remember from what show, but Ruby on Wales, we.
Oh, man. I'm going tomorrow down to Memphis to visit our unnamed ex-podcast host.
Well, we need to check your packing list, right? To be safe in Memphis, you're going to need a lot of things. First off, do you have a ski mask? I think that's the required fashion statement.
We are often trading places as like top 2 dangerous cities or whatever. St. Louis and Memphis are twinning, you know?
Yeah, just twinning.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they've got you beat recently. Things have been popping off over there. Big week.
Big week?
Big week.
We had some family stuff going on, so I pretty much took the week off and did a little bit. It's been a long time. And then recently, not that long ago, but like new DigitalOcean droplets have SMTP like fully blocked. So you can't send SMTP emails through Rails or whatever. And I just made a change in Jumpstart so that if you use Postmark or Mailpace or Mailgun, we'll use the gems and the API version for that. Speaking of,
do you know what gem I used to use and I don't anymore, but I love Mailtrap? What a beautiful, beautiful piece of software.
I've never really used it, but I've heard good things.
I don't have necessarily a need for it right now, but when you have a QA team, I think it's like a must have. If you have a really like robust staging like setup, I think that's where it really shined for me.
It'll send regular production emails.
So like we had a QA person and we had all the staging emails go to that person. So they could test like the workflow of the new features, and all the production quote unquote emails would get sent to them. And I think they also have like a dashboard in Mailtrap so you could see it. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I need to try that out sometime. I was reading all these gems yesterday, trying to see which ones supported APIs. And one of them had something _ API as the delivery method name that it adds. And I don't remember which one it was now, but it doesn't look like it was Postmark or Mailgun.
I couldn't even tell you what we use at Podia, but I just remembered. So
some of these were weird because I was looking at some of the other libraries that we used to support with like SMTP, but those companies like have been acquired, changed names. I was just like, all right, screw it. We'll just get rid of those. And it's easy enough if those services still exist to drop in your action mailer configuration and stuff for SMTP. But originally it was just a shortcut that I could drop in that was like, hey, here's all the different configurations for 10 or 12 different services that all had slightly different flags or names or whatever. And I could make it real easy for you to drop in your username and password or whatever for SMTP and be off to the races. But now that that's a little more complex, I'm like, it saves you like 5 minutes of time when you start your app for the first time. And that's it. You almost never change it. So it's not that big a deal for us to like include in Jumpstart. So we'll still have the 3 ones with APIs, and then it's like 3 or 4 other for SMTP. I can't remember if it was SES, I think only does SMTP or whatever. And I don't know. I had 15, 20 different tabs open last night looking at all those.
I've got a really good method / class name for stuff like that. Crosswalk.
Crosswalk?
Like the process of mapping like one set of inputs into a standardized form is to me like a crosswalk. like all those other like providers you like named, if I was to like create like a set of classes or modules for organizing them to a common API, I would name it something with Crosswalk.
Nice. And then Boardwalk.
Yeah. Park Place. I had a busy week. I shipped the inbox feature at Podia, which we've kind of been talking about for a while because it's been
that's exciting,
dude. But now I feel empty inside, and I have no goal and no aspirations, and my goal is gone.
Just wait till the bugs start coming in.
What bugs, bro? I think there's one or two things that we could enhance slightly, but no, we haven't gotten any bug reports. Now that I say that, I should not have said that. When you were talking about your turbo course, your Hotwire course, like a while back, I was like, a lot of the things you're talking about sound like they would benefit me in this upcoming project I'm about to work on. And turns out I was right, because I was talking to my project partner, Diego, about this, like, not to gas myself up, but this feature is freaking cool. And we built it in less than a month. And I would say the only reason we were able to do that is because of the things I learned in your course. Because I was like, if we could use these refreshes to like have this live updating feed, and like we can use like this frame technique to pull the content off of where it lives instead of recreating this entire component structure over again for every single object. So, dude, I'm happy. I'm pretty proud of it.
Nice. That's awesome, dude. You just reminded me this morning, I got my little Raspberry Pi app back up and running and churning through 150 videos or whatever it is now for the course that need captions. So it is burning itself a hole in the floor with Whisper transcribing everything. So all of the Learn Hotwire videos should have, by the end of today, should have captions for everything, which is great. Because I know a few people have asked, because they were like, English isn't my first language. So they were really looking forward to having those captions. And I was like, just give me time. I had to rework a little bit of the app to support multiple, like they have library IDs. And then for some reason, I think the Bunny API, you can't grab the zone ID for the URL through the API for whatever reason. So it's something you have to like manually set up. So I just stuffed all that stuff in my credentials and now can access all that. And then now I can transcribe Go Rails and Learn Hotwire and any other future courses that we end up launching. So
I was literally the other night brainstorming in ChatGPT, like how to like convert all of those videos into text and then convert them into a set of prompts and instruction files. So that'll save me some time.
That'll be cool. We've talked about that too. I need to go through it and like see what else we might want to put into there, because we do have a cursor rules folder in Jumpstart too, so that you've got, I don't remember what it is. It's quite a few different files, 7, 8, like 9 different rules files that are like, here's how we generally want to write JavaScript with stimulus. We want to use Tailwind CSS, service objects, file, testing, Rails models, controllers, views, all that kind of general advice for Cursor, which is cool.
Yeah, like I said last time, you should sell that, but give it to me.
I think that'll be pretty neat. And then wasn't Stan working on an MCP server for Ruby or Rails or whatever?
I'm not sure. I've had my head down. Like I've got so many links to MCP things that I need to look into and investigate. I haven't yet. I needed to ship this feature and I needed for it to calm down a little bit.
MCP is the hot acronym of the month.
Oh my dude, tell me about it.
Give it 3 months and we'll forget all about it.
So
we won't even remember what it was.
Related to that, I have a very interesting philosophical question for you. So VS Code, owned by Microsoft. So Windsurf forked it, and then they added AI stuff on top of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then ChatGPT acquires them for hundreds of millions or whatever, and ChatGPT has like a big partnership with Microsoft. Like Microsoft is a major investor, right? Did Microsoft just buy their own open source editor? Like if you really bring it all the way down?
Yeah, I guess that is really funny. That's all we need to do is fork stuff and sell it back to the creators.
It only cost us $300 million.
Yeah. And this is how we get rich and retire. We don't have to do any real work.
I'm down, dude. That sounds way better than editing anything I'm doing right now. Related to Hotwire, GitHub has a staff bar, I think they call it, a toolbar basically at the top of their app for like the developers that has context. I was kind of mocking like that idea up in Podia, And the reason why I was starting it now is I was like, I want all these hotwire things because while I'm working on this inbox feature, I'm like, I'm doing all these hotwire things. And I want to be able to highlight my streams and my frames and see what's coming through easier, whatever. And I was writing all this manually. And then the other night I found this repo called Hotwire Dev Tools, which is an extension for doing basically everything I was implementing manually for like highlighting your frames and your stimulus controllers and seeing like your streams and responses. And it's a Firefox, Chrome, and Safari extension. So
Nice.
I will link that. But that was really nice to find because I was like, this is everything that I was basically writing. And now I can just throw all that code away.
That's handy. I think I've seen that before. I like those tools a lot, having the browser extensions that you can use to, or even just little
You can like
Rack
bookmark
Mini
like
Profiler. The one that injects that little nub in the corner of your
Which
browser. And
kind of see, I want to move that nub into my toolbar.
yeah, I don't want it on the page. Really.
Yeah, it really pisses me off.
If it was a tab in the browser developer tools, that'd be perfect or whatever. I'm sure a bit more work to do that.
I was in the actual
for...
DB schema gem, the gem that like helps keep your like schema correct when you're like changing branches with different migrations on it. And they have a web UI now for like seeing the migrations. And I was like, ooh, that's pretty nice.
Nice. Yeah, I think visualizing all that stuff, I've worked on some things like that in the past because visualizing all those tools and commands and whatever else you can do or see just helps beginners a lot. And then you as a developer don't have to context switch near as much. You're trying to debug something in the browser. So if you could stay in the browser to debug whatever hotwire things or migrations, because there you get a migration error or something in the browser, being able to stay there helps a lot, I think.
Imagine the last time you had to deal with request timeouts or backed up job queues in your prod environment. Frustrating, right? Here's what that means. You're either not autoscaling or your autoscaler is not doing its job, because autoscaling is supposed to prevent scenarios like this. That's why we built JudoScale. JudoScale is the autoscaler that works for Heroku, Render, Fly, and AWS. With JudoScale, you'll smoothly handle traffic spikes while dramatically lowering your hosting costs. Do you want a rock-solid production environment? Visit judoscale.com/remote-ruby to learn more.
You know what I want? You know how we have all these /rails/whatever things and like gems append to that? Like I never know what the freaking routes are though. So I never look at the routes in the web browser.
Right.
At one point, DHH had this conductor, I think he called it, like concept. I wish /rails was more like a dashboard that also linked to these other things that you could also add instrumentation to. Basically,
I
had some
agree.
interesting gems around that at one point.
A lot of little things like that would be nice to have. There's Rails routes, there's the mailer previews, but like I don't go to them very often because it's the same thing. I forget the routes.
I used the mailer previews recently and they were actually really useful. Like we wanted to redesign basically all our email templates, and our designer was like, oh yeah, I always go to the /preview route, blah, blah, blah for the mailers. And that's how I'm checking your work. And I was like, what? I forgot.
You're like, I've never checked my work.
I was like, I've never checked that. I didn't even know that existed. So I completely forgot about it, but it was a lot faster once I did that. I mean, you had to set up some of the methods or whatever, but it was really nice to be able to like, okay, I can iterate a lot faster now that I can just kind of tab through these like email previews.
Yeah. DHH had that Rails conductor PR that didn't really have anything in it, but it was heading in this direction somehow, some way.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's some good
never really
gems for
made
it.
any progress on it. So I don't know if we'll ever see that or whatever, but hopefully one day that would be cool. You can get a lot of this in your editor, but it's not the same as having it in the browser where you're also checking your work. I like the idea of having more tools like that, making them visual, making them part of the application itself. It's cool, really helpful. And like that GitHub debug bar thing is awesome. I've seen a lot of people make prototypes of that. I've made my own just because it's like also handy just to put a little bar at the top that's like, hey, you're logged in to production as an admin and you should be aware of that. Just don't do anything stupid. Don't delete stuff here like you might in development or whatever.
Yeah. I think the worst part about it is I have a list of things to put on it and I can't figure out a nice design for it. I do this all the time. It's the most annoying thing. The extension that I dropped into the show notes shows you your streams, but I don't like their UI for it. And that was the UI that I'd always been thinking about. Like, what is a good UI for like showing a lot of condensed information in like a flyout, basically?
I feel you on that though. Like you have a good idea and then it's like, wait, how do I display this information?
Yeah.
And that's a whole different set of skills. It's not easy.
No, it is not.
I'm trying to think what else I've been up to. I'm in the middle of debugging something. Do you ever do this where, like in Jumpstart, if we create an account, we want to associate the owner of the account, like the creator of it? So we just have a belongs to on there, but we also have the account users, which are like all the people on the account. So we also create a record for that owner and mark them as like an admin by default. I can't tell. I haven't figured this out today. My brain's been a little foggy, but I've got a situation where I have a test that creates an account, which then uses a callback to create the account user as well, all in the one transaction, at least in theory. But it seems like it's calling the before create twice in some cases, which is weird. So I don't
Try
know
before
if I'm
validation.
before validation. Interesting.
Yeah. I have solved a lot of weird issues like that in callbacks by using the validation callbacks instead of the creation ones.
Interesting. The other thing I was going to try was like doing an after create or something. It seems like it's an issue because what I'm getting is I'm getting the error that user has already been taken. So it's like the account user model appears to be the one raising that, but the active record error doesn't actually tell you which model it is. It just gives you this error. So then I've been trying to go through and step through it and see which was which, what's my order of operations that's wrong or whatever. Because it would be nice to have that all taken care of automatically for you. So I've got something to go debug on there. So I'll try that before validation. I might also just make it like an after create commit and have it create another record.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. And also I could use that to query and say, did somebody supply their own account user as part of that, like an accepts nested attributes type situation? And I don't have that. And then I also don't have the validates associated on there, which I thought might be the case or whatever. And then I was thinking maybe it was that the account user is instantiated with the account ID as nil. But it's weird because it's like doing that twice.
Is it like building the user and account user basically at the same time? And that, so like when you create the user or the account user, whatever, it's automatically building like the associated object with it. Does that make sense?
So when I like instantiate or create a new account,
right,
it will automatically run a before create to create the associated account user for the owner. And just that something's off there. It's funny because the account user that it creates in memory seems like it tries to do it twice.
Right.
And that's what throws the error. But when I like put a binding IRB in that callback, it only runs the callback once. There was a situation earlier when I was fiddling with stuff where it was running before create twice. And I was like, well, that's weird. And I don't know what exactly is happening. The other thing too is I've got a anonymous. Well, I'm running the test suite for this, and so it shouldn't be loading this module twice. But I thought maybe that was being included twice, and I had an anonymous callback for it. And I was like, oh, maybe it's generating that 2 times because it doesn't have a name and it doesn't know how to deduplicate or remove them. But I don't think that's the issue.
If you put a create method in the model and put a binding and then call
override.
super, could you find the caller?
Maybe.
If create is getting run twice, then maybe finding like what called create on the time you didn't expect is the way to go. But again, I would definitely try the validation thing first.
Yeah, I'll try that because it's something that I know I saw the other day and I was like, oh, I'll take a look at that and see what's going on. And then everything was fine or whatever after I changed something. And then I merged these changes into another app and then it cropped up again because that app had a different test. And if I comment out that line to create the account user, I think that was the weird thing was if I comment that out and I run it, I'm pretty sure what happens is it creates the account and that's successful, but it also creates the account user but I commented out the line of code that I thought.
Do you have
removed.
something weird in your setup data that's causing that? Or not weird, but like is your
no.
like your seat fixtures or factors or whatever you're using
I don't think so.
at any point in the call cycle?
No, I don't think it's fixtures. I did look at that, but it's creating a brand new account for this one-off case. What's super weird is like I can comment out the account user.new in the before create, and it still creates an account user where I would expect it not to have done that at all. So there's something going on where it's still got a before create is registered somewhere else, or somehow it's still doing that, even though that seems, because I was trying to consolidate that into one place. You create an account, we create the default one, and we only have that in one location because we were kind of doing it where you create the account, then you create the account user as two actions in a few places in the app. So I was trying to consolidate it and make it a simple thing, but somehow it's still creating the account user, even if I comment that out. So that means that we've got two callbacks somehow doing that.
You're making the argument for not using callbacks and using dependency injection.
Yeah, I'm confused why. One other option could be like a create with account user or create with owner as a class method on account, and then have that define the transaction or whatever.
That's a nice solution. I've never actually thought about that before.
I like doing that. I first saw that approach because Ryan Bates did that with his Stripe implementation, and it was like create user with Stripe, and it would collect your email and password and your credit card in one form. And it would go to validate your email and password. If that wasn't correct, it would have you fill that out again, and then would validate that, then come back after it tried to create your user on Stripe and validate its credit card and stuff. And that I thought was a cool way of doing things. I'll have to look up that old Rails cast with Stripe because we can link to that. It was probably, 2011, it looks like. Long time ago. Subscription new, subscription save with payment. And then that checks to see if the subscription was valid. Then it goes and creates a Stripe customer. And if the Stripe customer fails, which would validate the credit card, it does a rescue and adds errors to the subscription itself. It wasn't a class method because you still called new and passed in your parameters from Stripe, but it kind of operated like a save with some extra logic around it. It was slick. I always liked that a lot. And that inspired how I wrote things for quite some time. Honeybadger is a performance monitoring and error tracking tool that combines the best monitoring features in one simple interface, with support for all the frameworks you use. It's everything you need to gain real-time insights into the health of your applications. Be sure to bookmark honeybadger.io. That's www.honeybadger.io.
We've had an argument about that type of pattern multiple times at Podia. I've since kind of changed my mind a little bit, but I was originally of the opinion that, so you have an account, right? And let's just say that you want everything that the account owns to have an account ID. So everything, like for database indexing and for cleaning and for yada, yada, everything has the account ID, regardless of like where it is. So I was of the opinion that I don't want to have to pass that in every time, right? Especially if it's stored in like current.account or whatever. Like that's freaking annoying. So I was of the opinion like using callbacks to automatically set that, because I was doing a lot of like account.deployment.plan.create. So I was doing a lot of like nested like calls to create. And in my brain, I was like, if I'm going from the top level object and calling create, I would expect that like associated top level objects that come along with it. So if I'm creating an object and I'm creating it off of a, like account.users.create, I would expect account ID to be included by default, and it's not. So there was a time where I was adding a bunch of weird callbacks for like allowing me to do that without me having to pass in all that stupid information. I've since kind of changed my opinion and lean a little more heavily on dependency injection. Because callbacks are dangerous, as we've just discussed.
They can definitely be confusing. And then you have to have, what is that block that Rails has that's like a suppress callbacks or something? You can call that around your models and stuff. I
do a lot of save, validate, false sometimes.
Yeah, there's one here when suppressing. Show me the code. Show me the example. Suppressing turbo broadcast is a method you can use a block around some code. And what that will do is all of those like broadcasts that you have defined in your models. If you're doing a rake task to import stuff, you might not want to broadcast all of those. So you can use the suppressing turbo broadcast method to pull that off. You've kind of got to do that where it's like, yeah, if there are callbacks, you need a way to define that. And then it's like, this sets a class attribute or something on the model temporarily. A threaded module adder accessor suppressed turbo broadcast. So that one needs to be specific to the thread that you're running into so that you don't turn that off globally and disable broadcasts for everyone, which is something people may not know is a thing. The thread madder accessor, that is what this is using for that. And then that way, it's kind of a module or class level variable, but it's going to only apply to the current thread, which is pretty interesting. I haven't seen that used much at all in most people's apps.
No, that's interesting. I'm going to have to keep that in my mind if I ever have to backfill anything related to this inbox.
Yeah. I don't know if this comes, I would assume it probably comes from active support, maybe.
You know what's really annoying related to that is that I emotionally feel this in my heart that if I call true to I should get 1. And if I call false to I should get 0. But that doesn't work. Unless you use like the active support or record model, like Boolean typecaster thing.
I've never thought about that. I do know that I've seen the active record model type thing.
Yeah, whatever it is.
I've used that because that's helpful because if you give it a string that contains the word true or false, those will evaluate as expected, which is important from a form in your browser submitting params. Those are coming across as like strings. But I could see that being a thing. It might be confusing. What did you say? You want true to be 1?
I want true to I to be 1 and false to I to be 0. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying this is a must. I'm just saying I feel like I want a monkey patch Boolean.
I mean, I'd allow it.
You would allow it? All right, bet.
Yeah.
I'm going to tag you for review. Hold on.
What
Actually,
about when
everything
you do nil to I? That's also false.
Yes.
So 0.
5
And
to
that
I would be
works.
true.
Nil to I already does. Will you ever need to determine the difference between nil and false in this case?
Stop.
I don't think so because they're both kind of falsy, right?
Yeah. All right. Now you just twisted my brain into like a Fruit Loop.
Let's do this. Let's take a little from the Node community and turn this into not 1 gem, but 2 gems. You have one that monkey patches only false and adds 2i. And you have another gem that only monkey patches true 2i. And then you have a third gem that does dependencies on those 2 gems to add all of them.
Let this man cook. Bro, I'm going to tell ChatGPT to turn this conversation into an action plan because we got a plan, bro. I've got a new goal. I've got things to do now, bro.
Ooh.
God, that's awful. I can't believe you just said that. Although,
yeah.
Why is that like weirdly appealing to me? Maybe it's just because it's like, haha, more gems to take care of, and more gems means I'm a better developer.
What are you going to name your gems?
Oh God, how could you say that to me? All right, so we got false or truthy int. Super.
We also need to have test helpers.
Oh,
so
yeah.
one's for RSpec. It's at least 3 gems for RSpec, 3 for mini test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that little RSpec like slight you hit in there, but I'm gonna let it slide.
What?
No, nothing.
I don't use RSpec.
I know why. Not the Rails luminary I thought you were.
Oh, shots fired.
That's got to be the Turing test.
All right, here you go, buddy. I see a post on Rails issues from 2015, and the Rails policeman himself, Raphael, says, I don't see any reason to introduce a new core extension to do Boolean to I. Just use Boolean and a ternary of 1 or 0. I pasted that in the notes for you.
All right. So I was busy getting my heart broken in 2015, but Raphael spoke the law. So I will accept it and incorporate this into my doctrine.
Because that's exactly reopening true and false class and having 2i methods is exactly what.
Well, see, the difference is I'm not going to open a Rails issue because that doesn't feel like a Rails issue to me.
Well, they were suggesting it goes into active support.
Nah, that's a personal problem, bro.
You need
I
to.
think that's a
you need
niche
to open
thing.
this on Ruby itself.
Actually, yes, but I feel like that's, I don't know, maybe my bar for like what goes into an open source issue is just kind of high because I've managed open source repos before. But it's like, no, this is a personal thing. Like, I'm just going to deal with it personally. Like, if I really feel that strongly about this, like, I'm just going to add it into my code. I'm going to monkey patch integer or Boolean and just move about my day. True cowboy.
Every day, monkey patching core things.
Every day I'm
Ruby.
monkey patching. How do we need to get an AI remix of that song.
Oh, geez.
This train's coming off the rails, dude. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a gag, like Rails swag shop. So instead of Ruby on Rails branded swag, it's just going to be like insults for Rails developers. And to go along with that, I built an insult generator on a subdomain on my website last night. And my favorite one is your monolith got more smells than a middle school locker room. Boom. Roast. Oh, see, that's the feature I need to add. I need to go vibe code that.
Yeah, this is a good use of your time.
Yeah, I'm not sharing the link because I don't want anyone to see this. It's mine. It is a guessable subdomain on my andrewm.codes domain.
Insults.andrewmcodes.
Dude, did you, bruh?
Wait, is it andrewmcodes.com?
I think it's literally what you just said. Insults.andrewm.codes.
Yeah. Look, I guessed it.
Damn.
Your code is so slow, it makes active record load fast.
Like, let me be very clear. I built and
Your
deployed
database
that
has more
from my.
migrations than your app has users.
I built and
That's a
deployed
good
that
one.
from my phone last night, which is impressive by itself. But I don't even have the code for this in a repo. So
Your idea of optimization is adding more servers. These
Which
are
is-
really good.
yeah, thank you.
Your turbo streams lag harder than your career progression. These just cut right to it.
Yeah. One of them is your SQL's so raw, Gordon Ramsay refuses to serve it.
This is the new viral app.
I know.
I like this.
I got inspired by Jason just deploying random crap on his.
Yeah.
Well, also,
Yeah.
I needed something to like, bro, my feature is gone. Like, I have nothing. Like, in my brain, like, all my dopamine, all my excitement, all my adrenaline, bro, gone. I had to do something, bro. And so, vibe coding a dumb insult generator in the middle of the night was the way to go.
Are these handcrafted insults or
Some of them are.
because man,
I've been watching
I'm enjoying
Shorzy
these.
again. And so
you were telling me about that.
I wanted it to give me like chirps. So that's what the idea was. I had no intention of deploying it, but then I was like, I just need to start deploying more things, even if it's dumb and stupid. Like, I just need to make it live. So
Yeah.
Jason has his little GPT like joke thing where it says it depends or whatever, like depending on whatever questions you ask it. And I was working on that too. I was like, I want that.
So good.
Yep.
Well, looks like I got a ticket to go take care of. I don't think it's a bug on our end. Looks like something they misconfigured, but I think we should call it there. Go watch Andor if you haven't. Season 2 has been pretty decent.
I watched The Mandalorian recently.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. And so I asked my buddy, like,
This
what
is the way.
are there any other Star Wars shows to watch? And he was like, you have to watch Andor. And I don't think I really made it through the first episode. So you're saying I
I
should
think
try again?
I can't remember the first season. I feel like it was a little slow.
And I don't like slow stuff.
But season 2, Brooke and I have been watching this week, and it's been annoying, but also kind of nice because on Tuesdays, they drop 3 episodes at a time. So next week, we'll have the final 3 episodes of the
Nice.
season, I think. So we like watched them all in a row on Wednesday or whatever. And then it's annoying to have to wait. And some of the episodes kind of felt like filler. Like they didn't really progress a lot of the story, but overall it's been pretty good. It's a lot of almost a drama. This one where like the Empire is trying to take over a entire planet and they're trying to like blame the rebels for it and stuff. So there's a lot of manipulation and stuff going on.
One of my favorite movies is Transformers. That probably tells a lot of you listening exactly the type of movies I like. I don't care necessarily about the story because I can guess the end of every movie. It's a curse. That's not me bragging. That's literally a curse. So I kind of just want to watch stuff explode. In Star Wars, I want to see space fights. And that's about it. And lightsabers, obviously.
Yeah. I forget what the other one was that we watched recently. The one with kids. Skeleton Crew, was that it? That one was good too. With Jude Law. What blows my mind is how many different like directors and stuff they have for like even during one season, they all have every episode's like different directors or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it takes a lot of people doing that in parallel to record and release these and edit and whatever in
I know, but it's
timely
got
fashion.
to me, it's got to be like, we know what happens when you add a bunch more developers to a project. So in my mind, it's like, is that
it
what's
feels
going
that
on?
way. Like that slow episode, I was like, what happened here? This is clearly somebody else or something else was going on there because it didn't feel like the other episodes you just watched, which was strange. But yeah, it totally felt like that, where it's like, oh, there's like other cooks in the kitchen here.
And they're
you don't have
cooking
consistency.
stale cereal.
Speaking of, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I am too, actually, now that you mention it.
I think it's time to go eat. So,
all right, my friend.
I will catch you.
On the flip side,
I'll catch you next week, but I'm also going to send you a link because Stripe announced a stupid amount of new stuff from Stripe sessions. I don't know that there's any necessarily new API changes or whatever, but they announced like a whole ton of stuff. They're going to have their own official, managed payments, which is their Lemon Squeezy. They acquired Lemon Squeezy, but they're building a merchant of record officially now as Stripe managed payments and yada, yada, yada.
Dude,
other crap.
In my next one-on-one, my manager's going to ask how I'm feeling. And now I'm going to say, I feel burned out. And he's going to say, why do you feel burned out? And I'm going to like, well, because every time I like hang out with Chris Oliver, he tells me about Stripe. And that doesn't make me want to code. That makes me want to like farm and build stuff with my hands. If you do
the managed payments, they handle all the stuff for you. So,
and just every time he talks about it, I'm like,
handle refunds.
Why am I developing? Why? What's the point?
I feel similarly. This week, I haven't worked hardly at all. And I'm like 4 days in to basically taking the week off. And I feel like today I was like, I could use another like 6 months off. Instead of feeling rejuvenated, I was like, oh God, I need a lot more time. It's just tough.
Dude,
so much stuff changes too much all the time.
We can move to California and we can grow weed on a farm, right?
But then we're going to need to write software to manage the farm.
No software, bro. No software on the pot farm. Get your software out of my dream, bro. You're ruining it.
And then I'll be in your dream being like, hey, we got to accept payments for our...
Oh, stop. All right. End the episode. Cut it right there.
Then it turns into a nightmare.
I'm throwing my headphones off. I'm done. We're done here. This is over. Goodbye, everyone. Good night and good luck because we need it.